Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and it's time for part 2 of the Q&A, so let's go ahead and knock this out. Alright, first question. Would a 6-day routine involving deadlifts, overhead press, weighted chin-ups as a workout A for 3x5, followed by squat, bench, and rows for 3x5 as a workout B be a feasible routine on a bulk if grinding reps were eradicated? I love your content. Maybe, but what I would say for most people, you're talking about coming in and lifting relatively heavy with a fair amount of volume 6 days a week. I'm not saying you can't do it, but yeah, grinding reps would absolutely have to be eradicated. You would need to pay very close attention to connective tissue and very, very close attention to your total fatigue management, because essentially what you are doing is doubling the volume of some popular basic strength programs. A program like you outlined is oftentimes something that will be run every other day a week, very successfully for starting athletes, starting football players, starting field athletes. That actually would be a reasonable approach to things, what you're actually doing at half the volume, because you're basically doubling the frequency. Multiple heavy sets of multiple big exercises done 6 days a week, probably not ideal. I mean, you are technically getting into some of the problems we run into with bro splits in terms of just overall volume being very, very high. I mean, like I said, you could possibly get away with it, and it might actually yield excellent results. But there is a very large degree of complexity added as far as fatigue management where something like this goes. And you need to keep in mind, you were talking about very, very small dividends. Yeah, you're doubling volume, doubling frequency. That can help with gains. But I really hope you don't think you're going to make like 40 or 50% more muscle gains by doing this. You are talking about doubling your workload, hoping to gain 5 or 10% more results. And it might actually do that. I'll be honest, it might. But again, with a lot more fatigue management, a lot more time investment thrown in. So again, it really depends on what it is you're trying to seek. And obviously, if you're doing something like that, doing other athletic endeavors is probably going to go out the window. It's just not going to be that compatible. All right, next question. What about different diets for different body types? Because I hear some people saying that they don't do well with high carb and feel better with high fat, like endomorphs, and other opposites, ectomorphs. All right, you need to remember these body types, these somotypes, don't really exist. Essentially, what you're talking about, an ectomorph is someone who's skinny, and an endomorph is someone who carries a lot more fat. That's largely due to the calories in, calories out they've eaten in the last few years. There is different heavy, medium, and light bone structures, but that's not what we're talking about, because the only difference you really see is how wide things like their hips and shoulders are. That's it. That's the only difference you see when they're at comparable body fats and muscle mass. So really, these body types that people think of are a result of lifestyle. They're not a result of genetics. Now, that being said, when people talk about they don't do well on high carbs, what you start finding out is that these are either people who already have serious insulin resistance, which needs to be corrected, which can be easily corrected over time with diet and exercise, or you have people of their idea of high carb is not what we're thinking of as a healthy high carb diet. These aren't people who are standing around eating rice, potatoes, and whole grain bread and whole grain pastas and calling it high carb. These are people who are eating cakes and snacks and sugary stuff and pretending like these high sugar, high fat treats that they're eating all the time, that that's a high carb diet, and they're totally not. So that's usually the people who say things like, I don't do well on a high carb diet, and then you look at what they're eating and it's like they're eating a lot of fat and they're eating a lot of really refined carbs, and then they want to call that a high fat diet. Oh, I put a bunch of butter and cream all over my potatoes, or they eat cake and sweets and other things, and they're calling that high carb, and they're really not. Totally different animals. So no, I don't believe in this at all. To say that any human being doesn't do well on high carbs means they have a health problem they need to address, because that has historically been our food. Humans have been primarily starch eaters as the biggest source of our calories forever, almost all throughout history. So that is actually our normal diet. So a person who says they don't do well on just a normal diet, it would be like a cow saying, I really don't do well on this high grass diet. It's completely absurd. It's moronic. These are people who've lost touch with what's really going on. There's something else going on with them besides that. All right, next question. Hey Jason, since I do an upper-lower split 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, I've noticed that it's not uncommon that I have really good workouts in the first half of the week, but when I do Thursday and Friday workouts, my pull-ups decrease by 40 to 30%, my bench decreases by like 20 pounds, or I can't do the same amounts of reps of Tuesday's weights. And just generally my upper body workout is a lot worse while my lower body is progressing nicely. I've been training for around 3 to 4 months. I usually do 4 sets of 6 to 8 reps for my bench, pull-up, overhead press, T-bar rows, and 3 sets of 8 to 12 for curls and face pulls. Could it be that I'm doing too much work and under recovering? Well, brother, I want you to think about what you just told me. Keep in mind, you only have a 1-day break. So basically, if you're coming in, you're talking about Thursday and Friday. All right, so assuming you wrote upper, lower, so I'm going to assume upper is Monday and Thursday. All right, you have Tuesday and Wednesday to recover. You have 2 days before your Thursday. How much bicep work are you doing? How much bicep work are you doing? And what's ideal for muscle growth? You want to get at least 12 sets. So that's what's been noted, is that generally speaking, most muscles, in order to achieve maximal muscle growth, need at least 12 sets a week. You're already doing 12 sets for your biceps, right? You're doing 12 sets for your biceps on Monday, because you're doing 4 full sets of pull-ups and T-bar rows. That's 8 sets. Well, I guess actually you're not doing 4 sets of curls. You're doing 3 sets of curls, and then you're doing face pulls. All right, your biceps are getting a massive amount of work on Monday. In fact, your biceps are probably getting so much work on Monday that you're stimulating maximal muscle growth. You are basically doing a body part split for what would be the equivalent of on Monday, especially with the face pulls. All right, that's now 4 exercises. So yeah, that's 14 sets that are working your biceps, and how many of those are working rear delts and stuff like that? 11 sets. Well, you really think you're going to repeat that multiple times a week? You're like, what? You really think you're going to repeat that multiple times a week, that much volume? Same thing, you're doing 8 sets of pressing on Monday. And these are all relatively heavy. I could understand if you were leaving a lot in the tank, but 6 to 8 reps, that's telling me also that you're pushing them real hard, because your rep range varies a little bit there, meaning you're pushing them as hard as they can go. That's why it's 6 to 8, not saying I'm doing 4 sets of 6. No, you got 6 to 8, which means it varies depending upon RPE for you. And you're having sets to where you can't do quite as much, so you're getting fatigued. So you think you're going to do that twice a week? You think certain muscles, you're going to be able to hit them to high fatigue with relatively heavy weights for 14 sets on Monday, and those same muscles are going to be recovered? And then you give yourself an extra day. So what happens on your Thursday? What's happening? Your Thursday, you're having to train lighter because you're not as strong. You can't complete the sets. And then you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 3 full days to recover finally. What I'm going to recommend, you're still trying to hit each muscle twice a week. You need to cut a set out. You know what I honestly think? If you're going to do what you're trying to do, cut a set. You need to cut 1 set of your T-bar rows and 1 set of your pull-ups, both workouts. All right, if you can't grow on 6 sets of pull-ups and 6 sets of T-bar rows, your back can't grow off that, and then 3 sets of curls thrown in. So that's 6 sets of curls every week also. That's 18 sets. And I'm assuming you're doing some sort of deadlifting, so that's going to add to your lat work and everything. All right. That's at least 12 sets for your back before deadlifts, even if you cut a set. That's 18 sets for your biceps. That should be enough. That should absolutely be enough. You don't need 20 plus sets for your biceps in a week. That's why you're fatigued on the next workout. You're doing too much volume. Same thing with your pressing. Go ahead and look at your math again. You can do 3 sets of bench and 3 sets of overhead press twice a week. You should be fine on that. Again, depends upon your recovery and other factors. If you want to specialize in something, I get it. But you're doing this with all your muscles. Like if you wanted to specialize on the overhead press, yeah, you could do 4 sets 2 or 3 times a week. But you're going to have to back off on a lot of other stuff for your upper body to balance it out because you're specializing. So that's exactly what's going on. It's a recovery issue. All right, next question. Re-sleep. Is accumulated rest more important than individual nights? If one has 1 or 2 bad sleeps, which I am prone to, would that negatively impact workouts gains, or would there be a balancing where more rest and better sleep has taken later? Thanks. Sleep is not cumulative in the sense that you can save up sleep. So in other words, you can catch up on sleep and fully recover, all right? But you can't pre-sleep and have it ahead of time account for the bad days. That won't actually work. So if you way overslept on Monday and you tried to undersleep on Tuesday, let's say you ended up sleeping 11 hours Monday, right? And you only sleep 5 hours on Tuesday and you're sleep deprived on Tuesday night. Wednesday, your training and recovery will suffer as a result of that, because the sleep from Monday, the extra didn't actually help you build. You don't get to store sleep like a fuel source. Sleep is purely effective after the fact. So actually what you would have to do, that extra sleep on Monday, unless you needed it to catch up on lost sleep, which you can do. If you had underslept by 3 hours earlier in the week, the Monday would catch you up, but you're still going to suffer the additional fatigue and under recovery from the lower days. So think of it that way. If that happened, that Monday sleep is only a catch up. You don't store those extra 3 hours. They don't really benefit you at all, other than, you just slept in. And if that's assuming your body is needing about 8 hours, you personally, that can vary. Mileage may vary. So then you only sleep 5 hours Tuesday night. You're going to need to sleep 11 hours Wednesday night to fully recover, and your Wednesday workout may suffer as a result of it. So remember that from a recovery end, as far as sleep goes, you can play catch up after the fact, but it won't negate the original effects of the deprivation. And sleep that you build up ahead of time doesn't carry over into the next day as far as letting you get away with stuff. So what you have to do is play catch up after the fact, but you still will suffer some problems from it. All right, next question. What's better for building muscle and strength, the 5x5 rep range as stated in your program or the 4x10 rep range? I've been following your 5x5 program, but someone told me that 4x10 is better. I'm confused now. Well, you're confused because you're listening to different people. If you go listen to 3 different people tell you 3 different things and you think all of those things had equal weight, then of course you're going to be confused if they told you something different. I don't know who told you that. I don't care who told you that. 5x5, 3x10, 4x10, they're all different tools in the toolbox. There is no best. There is no best. What's best is which one's going to give you the current fastest progression and give you sufficient workload to stimulate your minimum effective volume while staying underneath your maximum effective volume. Trying to find things like best doesn't work. You know what? You can get big and strong on 5x5. You can get big and strong on 3x10. Get big and strong on 5x10. What matters is, are you getting the effective volume that you need and workload that you need to stimulate adaptation, and are you recovering from it? Quit looking for things like best. They're all effective systems if used in the right context. And context is everything in the context of what you're doing with your training. If there was a best, the top coaches and athletes in the world wouldn't have people periodize their training. It's all just using different tools in the toolbox. Don't get caught up in these ideas like this is best, well, it must be best. All right, next question and last question of the week. Hey Jason, I've been doing Widowmakers full body 3 times per week. Progress has been great. Lately I can push for a few more reps on Monday, but I'm not recovered totally for Wednesday, so I taper back on reps. Friday the reps are up somewhat because I took it easy on Wednesday, I think. Is this anything to worry about? Is this normal? You're only going to be able to do Widowmakers once a week. As you get stronger, you're going to find this 2 and 3 times a week is going to bury you. The fact that you're even able to pull it off 3 times a week means you're still building a strength base. All right, when you get stronger, it's not going to work. Do them on Monday. go to normal sets on Wednesday and Friday if you want to do squatting 3 times a week. You're not going to be able to sustain this. The only reason you're doing a little better on Friday is, like you said, you're weaker on Wednesday, so you're doing less, you're recovering a little better. And then Monday rolls around and you've had 2 full days off from squatting to recover from it, so you can hit the Widowmakers again. I'm going to recommend that if you like doing on Monday, that's fine, that's your 2 days off before, do your Widowmakers Monday. Treat Wednesday and Friday like workouts to re-stimulate muscle protein synthesis. You can come in and do your 10 rep max for 1, 2, 3 sets and leave. All right, or you can even come in and do 1 set of 10 to 12 reps and stick to your 20 rep set on Monday using the exact same weight. You're probably going to get better results doing that in the long term. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.